I finally learned what Vietnam was all about, why Vietnam was going on. I did what I was supposed to do. I did what I was assigned to do.
We saw what communism had done to Russia and other countries and how people's lives have been destroyed. We didn't want that to happen to anywhere else. I mean, we felt like the South Vietnamese deserved to have freedom. And that's the reason I joined up. I felt like we needed to go help somebody.
To set the stage concerning Vietnam, if we go back to the 1890s, Ho Chi Minh was born. By 1930, he formed the Communist Party. By 1945, when World War II ended, part of the spoils of war, if you will, was dividing up territories that were recently acquired from the victors in World War II. So France regained their foothold in Vietnam. In 1951, President Truman of the United States actually sent some military assistance in the form of advisors to Vietnam to assist the French. But by 1954, the French were overrun, defeated by the Vietnamese. To end the war, the Geneva Convention solution was to divide North and South Vietnam. Ho Chi Minh was pretty well in the northern part of Vietnam, and by 1959, as a communist, he declared war on South Vietnam. He wanted them to be communist. He wanted the entire country of Vietnam, North and South, to be communist. By 1961, the U.S. was sending more military advisors to Vietnam to assist the South Vietnamese in their struggles against the Northern aggression at that time. 1965, in March, the first United States forces were sent in and landed in Vietnam to basically secure the airfield. And the United States continually built up forces in Vietnam and stayed there from '65 until the last combat troops were withdrawn in 1973. In 1975, Saigon fell, and most people will say that was the end of the Vietnam War. So that sets the stage of where we are at this time. Did you know anything about Vietnam prior to entering the military? I think a large number of Americans did not know where Vietnam was, and it was probably a new word for a lot of people when they first heard the term Vietnam.
I only knew what I heard on the news, and of course when I was in high school, 11th, 12th grade, we learned about Vietnam and what was going on in Vietnam.
I knew very little about Vietnam. I was hearing on TV and that sort of thing.
My brother was in the Air Force, so I knew what was going on in Vietnam because of him.
I had barely heard of Vietnam when I graduated in '64 at UNIAO, and it turned out that my class was the first to experience any real casualties.
I knew about it because my dad was deep into politics, and he was very interested in the Cuban crisis.
I think we all lived during the Cuban Missile Crisis, but we watched Khrushchev on national TV threaten to bury us all. So we were all had a little bit of fear of communism.
Mm-hmm. It was real to us, and we saw and felt that there was a threat of communism taking over the world. We studied history. We saw what communism had done to Russia and other countries and how people's lives have been destroyed. Tens of millions of people were murdered by communists in the Soviet Union and other countries, China. We didn't want that to happen to anywhere else. And they were expanding. They were expanding across the world as fast as they could, economically and militarily. We felt like the South Vietnamese deserved to have freedom.
What are your thoughts about how the Vietnam War was handled by the media during those days?
Well, I was upset before I went over there because I didn't like the way the press was handling the war. I felt like Walter Cronkite, if he'd have been doing that during World War II, they'd have tried him for treason. And the things that they were bringing out were all negative, anti-American, pro-communist in my book.
The only thing that really got to me was the protest at home. I felt that we'd just been betrayed by a lot of our own public. And so I know in the Army, a lot of us just kind of withdrew from the idea of the society as a whole, and we'll just make it on our own. We're soldiers, that's what we do. They can go do what they want to do.
In the city where I was located, there was no American television. Stars and Stripes and Armed Forces Radio was the only communications we had.
We did have TV at our barracks, but it was all regulated by the U.S. Army. We really didn't know a lot about what was going on back home. It's when you come home and hear it and you think, how can that be? Because I was there and I didn't see that.
I would like to say this in defense of the news media. They do what they are supposed to do, and that is report what they decide to report. But responsibility comes upon the citizens to educate themselves and decide what the facts are, what you're going to believe, and what you're going to obtain to. If you don't have the freedom of information, the freedom of press, and don't get mad at when I say this, we'll become like a dictatorial country. So I'm not that mean about them. I don't always agree with them, but you said we respect our right to do that.
Did your feelings or opinions change? Do you have any regrets about your service in Vietnam?
Well, I'll answer like this: duty, honor, country. I felt that mission accomplished. I felt that I made a difference over there.
I grew up a lot over there. It's something that we had to do. It's something that we felt obligated to do because it was what our government asked us to do.
My feelings changed considerably. The reason for that is the charade that was perpetrated by the news and the United States government. China wanted Vietnam, Russia wanted Vietnam, we wanted Vietnam. They did not like our democracy. Ho Chi Minh did not, because they did not want to be colonialized again against the French.
When I got back and started reading books and studying, there are a lot of things that should have been and could have been done differently. So I know more about the war after my mission than I did before and during.
I believed in what we did when I went over and while we were fighting the war. But toward the end of my tour, in the latter part of '68, I was up on the DMZ, a little fire base called Alpha 3. That was when we had the ceasefire into North Vietnam. We took incoming, we could see enemy muzzle flashes, and we weren't allowed to defend ourselves and shoot back. And I think some of my thoughts on the war started to change at that point in time. We could have won it. The rules of engagement are not a way to win a war. Our forefathers, World War II, didn't fight under rules of engagement. And in the long run, that would have saved lives on both sides.